The Lost City. This is the latest in a long line of films that are just, what if we got two important people that you know and love and put them in the jungle? You know, we got Jungle Cruise, we got Uncharted, and now we got Sandra Bullock and Channing Tatum in The Lost City. So I'll be honest, this film is not really something I venture to go out anymore. I think the days of like your Romancing the Stone and your Raiders of the Lost Ark, they're done. They always feel inauthentic in today's climate just because they are so obviously trying to cash in on that feeling that we got when these first films came out. They never feel authentic anymore, and they feel very commercial. They feel very just sterilized and just neutered versions of these things we've seen before. And I'm not even saying that the versions that we've seen before are any better, because I don't think Romancing the Stone's the best film ever. I'm just saying we've seen this before. But what we haven't seen in a long time, it feels like it's been a long time, is a mid-tier comedy going to theaters. Because the pandemic happened, and even before that, everything was just, let's go straight to streaming. These films aren't making the money they used to. We're going to send it to streaming. It can do bank there. But when we go back to theaters of these things, it's really impressive to me, and that's what I like to see about this film. Because in its opening weekend, it looks like it's going to be making more than The Batman, which is kind of impressive for a film like this, that you can get two names that are semi-popular in younger audiences and make more than your blockbuster film that's doing bank. That's impressive. That to me is really cool, and I hope this becomes the trend again where the mid-budget action, adventure, comedy film can come back to theaters and do some good stuff there. Because as much as this movie was pretty simple and didn't have much going for it, it was just nice to see this thing being released in theaters. But The Lost City itself, have you ever seen an action story where a character reluctantly gets thrust into the jungle from a billionaire, somebody trying to dig up an ancient ruin of something, and they need kind of like a swashbuckler to help? That's this. Except this one's kind of meta in its narrative, where it's like, oh, she writes novels based on this thing. He's a cover model who's not actually an action hero. It's kind of fun in that regard. It does kind of play with that trope in an interesting way, where he's a little more subdued in his narrative and how he does certain things, and Sandra Bullock's the typical reluctant girl who doesn't want to be there. There is good stuff to be had with their comedy, and they're not a bad pairing. The chemistry is about as good as modern chemistry can be, where it's so broken up because of the script and because of the agenda we're pushing. When I say agenda, I mean we have to hit these beats where they start off hating each other and they end up liking each other. They can't have their big kiss until the end. You can't have those moments where like they like each other at the beginning and they have to grow to like each other at the end. And I think if we just kind of maybe built around that story in a more interesting way than having to have this narrative arc, those characters could feel more fleshed out and less than one note. I will say Channing Tatum's character does get some pretty good moments where he kind of like pushes back against being the typical dumb hero lead, which is kind of fun. But the standout to me is Sandra Bullock. Because it's Sandra Bullock. Like, the girl could do anything and it'd be great. And I do like that we're kind of getting back into this era. I love to see it. This is very important to me because I think it's very important for Hollywood standards too. I like that we're getting the older female lead and a younger male lead. Look, Watchmen did it first with Regina King and Yahya Abdul-Mateen, but do more of that because, yeah, that happens in the real world too. It's not always you get a younger girl and an older guy. You got to change those things up a little bit because it's important and it's double standards if you don't, which I think is kind of really cool for this film. It does a good job with that. Everything else, you get it. You've seen it a million times and there's nothing too special or interesting about it. If you have seen any film in the genre, it's pretty much exactly that. Daniel Radcliffe's the villain, very charismatic, very much just loud and crazy. He's got the face for that. I think it's good that he's kind of trying to push away from the Harry Potter thing. He never will escape it. But I think, like, yes, I don't look at him and think Harry Potter anymore, which is kind of important, and I do like seeing that. There is, like, the sidekick character of, like, the book publicist who kind of, like, comes in and tries to help out. That, I think, is part of the trope of these movies where you have to have the third one. You don't need them. You focus on these relationships without having to cut back to, like, the comedy aspect. The comedy will come when you let your characters be natural, because Channing Tatum plays a dumb guy better than anyone. I don't think Channing Tatum's the smartest guy in the room, but he knows that he's good at being dumb, which is impressive. The Brad Pitt cameo, It's fun. I think it could have done without it. It's just nice to see, even at 60, this guy still got some action chops going on for him, which is kind of cool. It's just a pretty standard movie. It is kind of meta in what it's doing, but it's not meta enough where it changes exactly what's happening in the story. It still plays out exactly how you'd expect. Your typical beats, your typical camera work. It is mid-tier. And that's good, because we need more mid-tier things where it's just a simple story coming in without any expectation. You're just like, oh, that was a fun popcorn flick. I don't always like popcorn flicks just because I think we could strive for more in it. And this one, it could have been more if they maybe played with the meta part of it a little bit. But as far as it goes, their chemistry was fine. The action was okay. The story itself, pretty fine. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. It just was there. And I'm probably never going to watch it until I talk about it again in whatever the hell form that's going to be. So, The Lost City, an interesting title that I wish had more for it. I'm going to give a 5 out of 10. Now, thank you guys for watching this review. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. As always, you can check me out on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter, and I will catch you in the next one. Have fun, stay safe, good luck.